Good morning. My name is John Von Paris, and I am the chairman of the MDTA Finance and Administration Committee. I hereby call the meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee to order at 9 a.m. In accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is being conducted via video conference and is being live streamed on the MDTA Finance and Administration Committee webpage. All members will have their video active during the entirety of the meeting. To minimize background noise during the call, I would ask that everyone on the line to please mute your phones except when speaking. I ask that those who are presenting or answering a question to please turn your video and audio on when speaking. When you are done, please turn your video off and put your audio on mute. There are no members of the public, no elected officials, and no media who have pre-registered to comment at this morning's meeting. At this time, we will begin with agenda item number 1, the approval of the August 14, 2025 open meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Member Ardinger also move.
Thank you, Member Ardinger. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Member Rosen, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. We'll go on to agenda item number 2, contract number MT00211-411. Security System Maintenance and Service. Amanda, are you here? There you are. Hi.
Yes,
good morning, Amanda.
Morning. Yes. So the purpose of this memorandum is to seek recommended approval from the Finance and Administration Committee to present contract number MT00211-411 Security Maintenance or Security Systems Maintenance and Service Contract to the full MDTA board at its next scheduled meeting. This contract provides periodic preventative maintenance, inspection, testing, and on-call emergency and non-emergency repairs services for the MDTA security systems. 4 bids were received, but 1 was rejected for being non-responsive. ARK Systems, Inc. was determined to be the responsive and responsible bidder with the lowest total overall price, and therefore is being recommended for award of this contract.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead, that's it?
No, I'll ask, go ahead when you finish.
I was just going to continue to read the recommendations to provide approval to present the award of contract number MT00211-411 Security Systems Maintenance and Service to ARK Systems, Inc. at the MDTA board's next scheduled meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Are there any questions from any board members? I'm still trying to get used to the hands, that are up, the little yellow hands that come up here. So I'm pacing myself here. I don't see any, but I do have a question. You mentioned non-responsive, but they did submit a bid, or no?
They did. They
did.
did submit a bid,
Okay.
yes.
But overall, it was rejected. Okay.
Correct.
All righty. Okay, well, is there a motion to advance this item to the full board?
So moved. Sorry, so moved, Mr. Carroll.
Member Carroll, is there a second?
Member
Second.
Ardinger.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Member Ardinger,
Right.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Amanda, thank you very much.
Thank
you,
you.
members. We will move on to the next item. Item number 3, the fiscal year 2026 budget amendment, approval of a budget amendment to the operating budget. Jeffrey Brown is here. Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Good morning. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. For the record, my name is Jeffrey Brown, Budget Director for the MDTA. I'm here today to request a recommendation of approval to the board to increase the fiscal 2026 operating budget by $1.1 million to purchase 13 MDTA police pool vehicles. The purchases are in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, and according to section 6.17 of our trust agreement, the budget may be amended at any time during the fiscal year. As just stated, as a result of collective bargaining, 13 additional police pool vehicles must be purchased for fiscal 2026. That would increase the operating budget to $462.2 million. This represents a $1.1 million or 0.2% increase above the previous budget. Based on this, we're requesting a concurrence and a recommendation to move this to the full board for approval. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions? Member Ardinger.
Yes, thank you for the update. The increase of the 1.1 million, is that just for the cost of the vehicles, or does that include any additional costs? Like, I'm assuming there'll be additional insurance premiums due and any other related cost?
It would include anything directly related to the purchase of vehicles, which usually includes some of the uplift costs associated with vehicles, but there wasn't any additional charges or expenses put in for things like insurance, like you just mentioned.
Will we be, well, I'm assuming though that there will be an additional amount due for those items.
Probably. I honestly don't know the direct answer. We'd have to go back into the details and see how they would calculate that, because like I said, normally we get an allocation back based from the secretary's office and things of that nature. So I can't answer directly how much that potentially could be, but yes, I believe there could be a potential increase in cost.
Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Deb Sharpless, MDTA's Chief Financial Officer. Items like vehicles are generally self-insured. I mean, we through the treasurer's office. So, if we have any adjustments there, we would expect them to be relatively minor. Also, from a maintenance and fuel perspective, we're not expecting any real increases there, since these are pool vehicles. If they're used, that means that another vehicle is not being used. So fuel consumption should remain relatively constant. And then from a maintenance perspective, the vehicles, won't be, I don't believe will be received until later in the fiscal year. So maintenance costs would be low, one, because of the timing of when they're received, but also because they're new vehicles. So any maintenance is, generally under warranty. So at this, in the first year, honestly, in the first couple years of a vehicle purchase, other expenses are usually relatively low.
Thank you, Deb.
Member Rosen.
So thank you. So the increase was due to the collective bargaining. Was this something that was new, or it was unforeseen at the time when we approved the budget? And
I believe it was part of the collective bargaining agreement, but when they went through the initial purchases and determined how many vehicles they need, I think they realized we were short some, but I think Deb can add some detail, but they realized they're expected to reach a certain percentage of the police population that should be available for pool vehicles. This gets us to that percentage, but I'll defer to Deb if she needs some additional information.
I think that's fine. Basically, I didn't know if that was something new, and therefore would there be other changes related to the collective bargaining in other areas of the budget?
Not that I'm aware of. I think this should be it.
Okay, thank you.
Let me defer to Chantel first, since she was so close to this, and then I'll assist her if needed.
Just to essentially kind of echo what Jeff said, it is part of the pre-existing collective bargaining agreement. It included vehicle purchases in various phases, and this is essentially the last phase.
each officer is entitled to a vehicle, and what wasn't recognized was that, those vehicles that officers have sometimes needs to go into the shop. And so these vehicles are used for when an officer's assigned vehicle is unavailable to them for some reason. And when the budget was pulled together, this last phase, it was overlooked.
Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, I don't see any more questions, but I thank Member Ardinger and Member Rosen for excellent questions. Thank you, as usual. That's what you do. And Deb, thanks for your to help to clarify some things. So, is there a motion to advance this item to the full board for approval?
So moved, Member Rosen.
Thank you, Member Rosen. Is there a second?
A second, Member Carroll.
Thank you, Member Carroll. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. And you're still up. By the way, this is our last approval item on today's agenda. I always have I must drank too much coffee or something here this morning. Can't speak half the time. All right. So, Jeff, you're still up.
Yes. Hi, again, I'm here for this portion of the meeting is to provide an update for the full year fiscal 2025 budget versus actual performance. As of June 30th, 2025, 95% of the budget was spent compared to a target of 100%. Except for fixed charges, all object codes are within or below budgeted spending levels. Moving to further detail, salary and wages, objects 1 and 2 are at targeted spending levels with 100% spend rate. Communications, object 3 is below budget with a 74% spend rate due to lower telecommunications costs, telephones, cell phones, things of that nature. The primary driver is an underspend to a delayed installation of a new phone port that was scheduled for 2025, but will be completed in fiscal 2026. Travel, object 4 is below budget with a 42% spend. The availability of virtual meetings coupled with updated new travel guidelines are the key drivers for the reduced spending in this category. Fuel and utilities, object 6 is slightly above budget with 102% spend, primarily due to electricity charges, partially offset by fuel oil and natural gas. As mentioned, utilities or electricity is above budget with 105% rate due to market pressures. Object 7, motor vehicle operations and maintenance is below budget with a 77% spend rate. Vehicle purchases, objects 0701 is below budget with a 79% rate. The laptops on cameras that were part of the MDTA police vehicle costs were not received by fiscal year end, which is what's driving this underspend. Vehicle gas and oil is below budget with a 46% spend rate. This is due to easing of gas prices compared to budget assumptions, while vehicle repairs and maintenance is below budget with 88% spend rate. As Deb kind of just mentioned, our fleet, we have a higher mix of newer vehicles, so that kind of reduces our maintenance expense. Other vehicles, gas and oil is below budget slightly with an 87% spend rate, while large maintenance and repair is above budget with 108%. This is due to the anticipated receipt of dump trucks that were scheduled well ahead of time that were not received in this current fiscal year. As a result, we need to keep the old ones running, which is resulting in higher maintenance costs. Contractual services, object 8 is close to budget with a 90% spend rate. In detail, advertising 0801 is below budget with a 66% spend rate. Some of the promotional activity that was expected in fiscal 2025 is moving to fiscal 2026. Equipment repairs and maintenance, 0809 is a below budget with a 37% spend rate. This is driven by the VMware renewal that will be realized in fiscal 2026 instead of 25. Building repairs and maintenance is below budget with is above budget with 114% spend rate. This is due to various activities and renovations and repairs for things like HVAC and boilers and sludge removal is driving this cost, as well as the timing of some invoices from prior years. That's what drives the overspend in this area. Janitorial services very close to budget with a 92% spend rate, while education and training is below budget with a 62% spend, driven primarily by career development program costs. The spending in this area just has never completely recovered from the pandemic levels. Management studies 0821 is below budget with a 48% spend rate, primarily delay awarding a contract for an A&E contract, and in addition, reduced activity across various cost centers drive this performance. Security services is at a 55% spend rate, while fiscal services below budget with an 86% spend rate, which is primarily driven by the credit card volume. IT services which is 0841 through 0869 is above budget with 108% spend, which is primarily due to 0862, which is application software maintenance. As just mentioned, 0862 is above budget with a 277% spend rate. This increase is due to the rate and usage increases for the computer-aided dispatch and record management system. This cost is anticipated to stay elevated in the future, so we'll probably see it in future budgets at a higher level. EasyPass Service Center cost is below budget with a 83% spend rate. There was a delay in anticipated task order activity, coupled with some lower than anticipated spending in other areas of the budget are the primary drivers for this underspend. Other contractual services below budget with a 73% spend rate. This is primarily due to the actual overhead rate for the Maryland State Police being lower than what was budgeted. Supplies and materials is below budget with 78%. This is driven by roadway maintenance 0905, which is at a 73% spend rate, and this is just due to lower emergency activity on the roads. Salt is at a 54% spend rate due to the reduced winter storm activity, while uniforms and ammunition are close to budget with an 87% and 89% spend rate. Uniforms is driven by when they're received, as well as ammunition. Transponders is below budget with an 84% spend rate as well. Replacement equipment, Object 10, is below budget with 56% spend, driven by microcomputers, Object 1033, which is at a 59% spend rate. Some of the computer requirements that were expected for fiscal 2025 are being moved to fiscal 2026. And then other replacement equipment, 1099 is below budget with a 19% spend rate. This is due to the performance or underspend by the Maryland State Police with K9 expenses. Additional equipment, Object 11 is at a 47% spend rate, and mostly due to the timing of orders, plus some reduced activity and spending. Finally, fixed objects is over budget with 126%. This is driven by insurance, Object 1302, which is above budget with 129% spend rate, and this is due to the increases that we have talked about before in property and liability insurance. That concludes my update. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, and we'll go Member Rosen. I think you're on mute, sir.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Okay, so thanks for the presentation. So it sounds like, or I guess it looks like for the year, there's a pretty significant variance relative to budget, and some of these items are moved to the current fiscal year, and other items it's just savings that we incurred. Are we going to need another further budget amendment for the current fiscal year to move some of these items that we didn't previously know about to the current fiscal year?
Not that I'm aware of at this point. Obviously we'll have to manage and look at it, but there's nothing directly in the works to provide for an amendment at this point.
Okay, so we had some legitimate savings relative to our expectations.
Yes.
Significant savings, tens of millions of dollars.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rosen. Any other Member Ardinger?
Just weighing in behind Member Rosen, it looked great. Looks like things are great, except for, of course, the insurance, which we knew about. Thoughts on that? Just can we circle back to that? I know we've talked about concerns that this is going to continue to rise, and what can we do to deal with that?
Again, for the record, this is Deb Sharpless, MDTA's Chief Financial Officer. Um, this upcoming fiscal year, in all honesty, not a lot that we can do to be able to reduce costs. On a longer term basis, the treasurer's office is in the middle of a procurement. We're waiting for that procurement to be awarded, and then we're gonna do independent assessments of the facilities for cost. And by having these values done independently, that should help mitigate risk for the carrier and result in slightly lower premiums for us. Another thing that we're doing, we're looking at a means. We'll have more information for you. Let me just please say soon, on ways that certain aspects of our insurance we might want to self-insure. And when the timing is right on that, the agency will present to you the pros and cons to that, and what the potential benefits are. But that's all we can do right this moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. On the insurance, while we're on that subject, is the state looking at the entirety of the entire state and getting more of a blended rate rather than isolating it to how's that working?
No,
Can you describe that?
We have to carry our own insurance policies. And for assets like this, they're individually insured. It's not a bundle. In this particular year, our insurance, in order to have the thresholds that we need, it's a collection of insurers that's funding our policy. And so this RFP, that the treasurer's office is responsible for procuring a broker who helps negotiate insurance premiums for the state. And they also provide other support. And so these independent maximum foreseeable loss estimates, that's part of the scope of the RFP that they're doing. And so it allows any agency that wants to utilize those services, it will fall under the scope of their contract, and then we pay the cost for those evaluations. And so at this moment, it's our judgment that the cost to have these evaluations performed are worthwhile. But previously, we did not have a contract mechanism in order to obtain these services, because the services for these evaluations, they are quite expensive.
Right. If I would like to sometime meet with someone in that area, talk to them and share some thoughts on it. On the dealing with the brokers, and also a large scale, where generally in the industry, there's a percentage the broker charges for their services, obviously. But if the rate jumps up considerably, the rate goes up, the exposure goes up, right? So the rate goes up with that exposure, but the services don't necessarily, it's not that much more service for the broker. I'm just saying, generally speaking. So that sometimes when that happens, I found that the broker is willing to be very competitive on their percentage. So but we can talk offline on that.
Okay,
we can.
And we can have, we'll obtain additional information from the treasurer's office. When they obtain their brokers, they go through a competitive process. They, issue an RFP, and there's a technical evaluation and a price financial evaluation when they're making their selection for the broker. But we can talk through that process that your treasurer's office follows.
Well, I'm glad that that's happening, and I'm sure they know exactly what they're doing. I just want to give a perspective for whatever value it may bring. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have, so let's see, any other hands up? I do have a question, two questions, quick questions on the extended warranty of the large, heavy over-the-road trucks, Jeff, that you mentioned. Just suggesting it would be interesting if we could. I know the cost would go up when you are outside of a warranty. Sometimes there's even an extended warranty option. So if there's an extended warranty option and it costs X number of dollars, it would be interesting to see what the expense on the repairs that are now would be on our ticket, what that would cost compared to an extended warranty for another year or something. I don't know if we've ever done that analysis, but it would be interesting for future decision making. So I just share that. And on the records management side, you mentioned that the document management, records management side, the costs are going up. Is that on the computer system, did you mention, or is it other things that are involved in the document management?
Are you talking about the computer-aided dispatch?
I just, you had mentioned our records management.
I think it was the computer-aided dispatch, because that's what's in the IT services. I think that's what you're referencing.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's systems associated with that. That's what the dispatchers use for tracking all the calls across the agencies for the police. So it's used to track it. It's got a GPS associated with it. They log things with that. So it's a large system used by the police. And frankly, I think they do work with other state agencies. So it's required that they have to use this as well. So yes, this is associated with the IT systems associated with that stuff, which is, again, handling all the calls, keeping track of it. Yes, doing record keeping of it. So it's an extensive system.
Okay, I was, when I heard records management, maybe I missed.
No, you did. No, you're right. I'm
Okay,
sorry. I saw the
thinking-
first part of it. It's a computer-aided dispatch and record management system. It's actually both. Sorry.
Okay. I was thinking something about that just want to have a little more detail on that, but you've answered my question. Thank you very much. Okay. And Deb, thank you for your participation, and members for your great questions. So we will, and Jeff, thank you.
Thank you
as well. We will move on to the next item, number 5, the budget comparison review of actual versus projected fiscal year 2025 capital budget spending. Jennifer is here, I believe.
Hi.
To present. Hi.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Stump, the Assistant Capital Program Manager. Today, I'm presenting the fourth quarter review of the fiscal year 2025 capital budget versus actual spending as outlined in the fiscal year 25-30 draft CTP. This information will also be presented to the full board on September 25th. As of June 30th, 65% of the fiscal year 25 budget, which was $809.8 million, was spent as compared to the targeted spending level of 100%. Actual spending through the fourth quarter was $525.3 million. 8 of the 91 projects budgeted in the fiscal year 2025 are within acceptable spending limits of 90 to 110%. This is plus or minus 10% of that 100% target, and this variation is decreased from the 25% variation reported for the first, second, and third quarters because all allocations, accruals, and fiscal year 25 invoices were posted. On attachment A, it details 10 projects that were budgeted with the highest fiscal year 2025 budgets, and actual spending through the fourth quarter on these 10 projects was $392.5 million. That concludes the update. Please let me know if there's questions.
Let's see, any questions from any of the members? Okay, I do have a couple of quick questions, kind of related. Can you give a little more detail on why a large portion of the I guess the cash flow shifted to 26 on the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and also similar situation, if you could provide detail on the redecking.
Yes, sir. Yes, and those were our two biggest underspent projects. For the Key Bridge rebuild, the previous draft flows assumed that the demolition of the existing bridge would largely occur in fiscal year 25. As a result of that final bridge realignment, the work was reduced in scope and the demo began on July 7th of 2025, which was after the fiscal year 2025 was closed. This pushed about $100 million out of fiscal year 2025. And additionally, the start of the test pilot program was moved to September for equipment schedule alignment, and that pushed another $10 million out of fiscal year 2025. Regarding that demolition, while we were still finalizing the alignment, and originally it was at the old bridge site and demolition was set for that location, it was a priority to, demolish that old bridge right away. And after it was realigned and moved, then it just moved down a little bit and out of fiscal year 25. For the Bay Bridge redecking, we had phase 1, package 2 phase that was originally scheduled of this project, and it had a scope change that moved a large portion of the anticipated work from phase 1 to phase 2 of the overall redecking project. At this time, that phase 2 project is expected in fiscal year 2027.
Okay, thank you. Member Rosen?
Thank you. Just a question. So since there was such a significant, shift of project work to a future year, there's no risk for those project costs increasing since it's so significant, and those are locked contracts, so we shouldn't be worried about any changes there.
For the Bay Bridge redecking?
Well, just in general, if we spend 65% of the budget in FY25, so for the remaining 35%, obviously costs are going up over time. But if those are locked contracts, then that's fine. I just want to make sure that the remaining amounts that which would have been incurred prior when costs were lower aren't going to increase in cost later.
Yes, any locked contracts would not increase later. But there are other contracts across the whole CTP that might not have been yet locked in. So that's why I wasn't sure specifically what you meant. But contracts that are already issued and locked, yes, they would not increase.
Okay. Well, I guess said a different way, then there is some risk that for the 35% we didn't spend in fiscal year 25 relative to budget, that could result in increased costs in some of those contracts in future years, including the current fiscal year. Is that correct?
So Jennifer, I think the easiest way to provide an example on that is what Jennifer said on the Bay Bridge. And for the record, this is Bruce Gartner, the Executive Director of MDTA. So that next package, as she indicated, is being reformulated. So there's multiple factors. There's the fact that we don't have a contract, as you said, locked in for that. But there might be a reevaluation of the means, methods, and how the engineers package that. So they'll look for cost savings. So that it's hard to say exactly what the final impact will be, but that would be one where I think you're suggesting, there is that risk there. On the Key Bridge, that's works, underway, moving. It was just a timing. That package was set with the contractor. Very little risk in that increase. So two examples of what we face in these situations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for that. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce. We will move on to the last item on the agenda, item 6, a quarterly update on traffic and revenue. And Walter is here to present that report or update. Are you there, Walter?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, good morning. My name is Walter Lawn. I'm the revenue manager, and I'm here to provide an update with the quarterly and year-to-end traffic and revenue trends compared to previous year and to the forecast. So the key takeaways for the year ended June 30th, 2025 is that overall collected revenue was above forecast by $35.1 million. The increase in revenue by Central Collections Unit, or CCU, has improved the forecasted performance. And those two categories that it would affect are the video toll revenue which was 8.4 million higher than forecasted, and the civil penalty fee revenue, which was 33.6 million higher than forecasted. If you scroll down to page 2, there's a table there that shows the transactions and revenue actuals fiscal 24 compared to fiscal 25. And you can see for transactions, we're 0.7 million under forecast, or 0.4% compared to the same period last year. The reduction in transactions is mostly attributed to the elision with the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which is offset by the increase in transactions on the ICC and the express toll lane facilities. Year-to-date revenue increased by 0.4 million, or 0.1% compared to the same period last year. And again, the increase in revenue is mostly attributed to improved collection of civil penalty fees, as well as the growth in traffic on the ICC and ETL. Overall, forecast is above, or revenue is above forecast by 35.1 million. Let's see, so if we scroll down to page 3, it's just gives a summary here of forecast versus actual for Easy Pass. The forecast was 619 million. The actual was 611 million, with a difference of 7.9 under forecast. And video admin and pay-by-plate revenue forecast was 129.3 million. Actual was 172.3 million, with a difference of about $43 million over forecast. We can go down to page 4, attachment C, and it'll break down those overages into specific categories. So the first two on here, Easy Pass, just the daily average traffic lower than forecasted. And then there was also the New York transition to a new back office, and so they had a delay in sending us transactions, which ended up being processed in July. It's about 1.7 million. And the remaining, the 6.2 million, really a piece of that is from the Fort McHenry Tunnel fire. But we've kind of lumped it in there for now, as it's still being reviewed. Pay by plate slightly above forecast. There you can see the video toll collections above forecast by 8 million, and the administrative toll revenue above forecast by 34.5 million. Again, that was driven by the civil penalty fees being so coming in much above forecast. And I'd say the main reason for that, the CCU collections, now that that's all caught up, it's pretty much live. Everything's going real time, being flagged at the MVA and then getting sent to collections. We saw a large backlog get pulled in. So like the money that CCU collected this year, the majority of it was from transactions between fiscal year 21 through 24. So that's why we're kind of sort of calling it a one-time here. Again, it's to be conservative, which we hope that it can stay higher, and we'll see over these next couple quarters if like where we're going to end up landing as our new normal. All right, I guess that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Member Archer, do you have a question?
I do. I just thank you for clarifying the civil penalty fee revenue and that we see this increase and that it's possibly a one-time thing. So I understand we're collecting a lot of the penalties that we're seeing are for prior years, or over a number of years.
Yes.
Okay. So, but in regards to our collection I guess I'm more concerned of what's outstanding, what is still outstanding out there, and how we're now addressing that is making a difference of collections.
Yeah, it's certainly, we're starting to see like collection rates. We track collection rates at different intervals, like say at 5 months of being outstanding, what's our collection rate? And we're starting to see now that like MVA is back up and running and stuff is getting to CCU, we're beginning to see it start to creep back up, like the collection rates we're seeing. So it is a good sign.
Okay, so we're moving in a positive direction.
Yep.
It's for that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Archer. Member Rosen.
Thank you. probably less related to this specific report, but more generally. So with the ETL, now like additional extension open, and maybe too soon to say because it hasn't been open that long. Do we know how that's performing relative to our original forecast? Not forecast last year, but when we originally conceived of the extension, and how the traffic is relative to that?
Well, we can see probably the easiest way to look at that would be to look at fiscal 24 actuals versus our fiscal 25 actuals, just to see the change that's happening. And what we see is that like for trips were about a 7% increase year over year. And for revenue, about 31% increase. And the reason the revenue would be going up at a higher clip than transactions is because a lot of times it's still one transaction. They're just going a longer distance, which means a higher toll rate.
Okay, and is that consistent with what our expectations are? And I know some of this goes back because we decided to extend it many years ago, but is this meeting those expectations? Do we have any idea? I don't know if anyone who was.
Yeah, we could find out. I'm not sure. I don't have it handy. I don't know,
Okay.
Deb, if you have anything.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, you can punt on answering that till later. So I'm just curious how we're performing relative to what we originally expected.
Yeah. Well, we did. Yeah, and I don't know about the original, but we did. Not only is our year over year better, like significantly better, but we also outperformed the new forecast, which was anticipating this going into effect this year. So yeah, we can go back to see like the original forecast for it.
Okay, well, I'm glad we exceeded our more recent forecast.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I don't see any other ones. Any other questions? It doesn't look like anybody has any. So thank you very much for your report, Walter. We appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, we have completed all items on the agenda, and that means that it's time to adjourn. I'd like to thank everybody for their participation today. There's some very good questions asked by the board. Thank you for that, or for the board members. And also thank you to everybody who has prepared all the materials as usual. Did a great job with that, and everybody who participated. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Member Ardinger, also move.
Thank you, Member Ardinger. I thought for a second we weren't going to adjourn. That was good. I'm glad. No. Is there a second?
Second.
Member Rosen. Great. Okay.
There was a standoff.
No, no.
Aye.
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 Okay. Opposed. Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody.